Hi, I'm back with the Effective English Email course, and for this lecture, we're going to step back and we're going to look at a case study of how email is used in the professional setting. So specifically, we're going to see a email introduction here. Okay, so two people that know each other, or one person, I should say. So one person is going to introduce another person to a third person. So one person is meeting this third person for the first time through this email. Right? We're going to go through a few different stages of relationships with email. And you're going to see first the cold outreach stage. So emailing somebody for the first time, somebody you do not know for the first time. Then we're going to watch as those two people become more like colleagues. They get to know each other a little bit. They become friendly. Then we're going to see the email introduction take place. And what happens is this person that they're going to be introduced to is pretty high up, right? They're an established career researcher and professor, kind of probably towards the end of his career, and kind of a mentor for other professors. And we're going to look at the language difference that is used in all of those processes, right? So it's kind of an interesting exercise. I've never seen anything like this in the English materials, in the many different English materials that I've seen. So I hope it's informative and helpful for you. All right, here we go. So first stage, cold outreach. To Cheryl Buchanan from Peter Cho. Okay, so Peter Cho is the person that is initiating this, contacting Cheryl Buchanan, whom he has never met before. Subject, democratic consolidation in the EU. Right? And what that subject is actually a journal article written by Cheryl Buchanan. Okay, so she opens her email, she sees from somebody she's never met before, and the subject is this article she wrote. So she knows that, okay, this person has a question probably about the article. Then it says, Dr. Buchanan, and then very quickly, who he is. Hi, my name's Peter Cho, gives his job title, and then why he's writing. I enjoyed your paper, Democratic Consolidation in the Internet, greatly, but I was wondering what you would think about blah, 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 right? So a little bit of a compliment there, which is always good, to say compliment, to give a compliment or give thanks for something. But anyway, gets right to the point. So there's no big biographical information. My name's Peter Cho. I just got my PhD and I'm working at Happy University in Sweden. I'm really interested in this topic and, you're a really awesome person. I hope you can be my mentor. It doesn't do any of that, right? It cuts to the chase, cuts out everything unnecessary and just says, I am Peter and I am writing you because I have this question for you, okay? Very simple closure as well. Congratulations on the article. I hope to hear from you. Dr. Peter Cho, Happy University, Sweden. Okay. So let's look at the response. To Peter Cho from Cheryl Buchanan, subject RE, so that means it's a reply, Democratic Consolidation in the EU. Dr. Cho, comma. Right? Thank you so much for your email and your kind words. So starting by expressing gratitude. That's always good as a general rule. Always say thank you to people, even if they're offering you criticism or disagreeing with you or something. In emails, keep it polite. Just say thank you. Indeed, that's a very interesting idea. I think it is quite possible. However, we as social scientists need to come up with innovative ways. So anyway, she's entertaining his idea. She's adding her thoughts to it. Thanking him for the reaching out. She's not really considering it very seriously. Okay, so she didn't go back and do a whole bunch of research to write this email. She just kind of added some superficial thoughts to it, which might help him, or might not, I don't know. But it's a very friendly, kind of approachable tone. But then look at her last paragraph here. By the way, I happened to read your recent article in the Journal of Sociology as well. I think you are on to something big. Are you planning on attending the European Union Sociology Forum next month? I will be there and would love to make time to discuss areas where our research overlaps. Okay? So, that's a pretty good result from an email for Peter, right? He reached out to this person that he wanted to get in contact with. He seemed like maybe he had something he was skeptical of in her research, but he had a pretty friendly, very productive response to it. So this could be the beginning of a friendship, right? Maybe they could even author a paper together in the future. Okay. So let's look at Peter's response. To Cheryl Buchanan from Peter Cho. Hi, Cheryl. Okay, so look at that. That's changed, right? It says Cheryl. What happened to make it go from Dr. Cho to now, hi, Cheryl? Why did Peter Cho change the way he's addressing her? Anybody have a suggestion? Look at this email for a minute. Think about it. Read through it. Pause the video if you need to. I'm going to tell you the answer in about 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. The reason is, look at her, the way she signed off. Okay, the previous email from her, or no, we don't have one. She just signed off with Cheryl. It doesn't have Dr. Buchanan, Dr. Cheryl Buchanan, any of that. She just signed off with her first name. So generally speaking, when somebody does that, now a lot of people, their email signatures are automatic, right? So this is kind of a general guideline. But in general, when somebody signs off with their first name, at that point, it's okay to use their first name. You are accepted as a colleague at that point. You're equals, you can use first names. So that's what Cheryl did. She offered him, she said, okay, just call me by my first name. All right, so the next email. He thanks her for the compliment that she even knows about his research, right? And that's, he doesn't say thank you, he doesn't use that word, but this expression, I am humbled that you're familiar with my research, that kind of means thank you in a roundabout way, and would love to get together at this conference. I'll only be there for her first half, though. Will you be there for the whole thing? Now look at his sign off, Pete. Right? Now he's changed his as well. He doesn't just say Peter, right? He says Pete, his nickname. Right? So he's responding to her her offer of, kind of being more friendly with, his own kind of offer of friendliness, using his nickname Pete, rather than full name Peter or Peter Cho or so on, right? Okay. Moving forward with the relationship. I should also point out here that the to and from parts, you don't generally type in the person's name for that. That's the email address. But a lot of email programs these days will automatically populate the name field with whatever that person put in. Okay, so Peter Cho, because it says to Peter Cho, we can assume that in Peter's email program, he just has Peter Cho. Some people would say Dr. Peter Cho, or Peter Cho, PhD, and that's how it would then display on the email header here. In this case, Peter and Cheryl, they both seem like they're younger professors, and so they're more casual. They just use their regular names. They don't bother with the doctor and the PhD. Right? But anyway, we've got our response. Pete, oh no. So first she responds with Pete. So she acknowledges his offer of, communicating on a more friendly basis by using his nickname. She says, if she actually, at this point, if she's still saying Dr. Cho, that's quite cold, right? That's perceived as quite cold and maybe even a little bit rude, actually. So, at this point for the relationship, it's good that she responds with the first name, with the nickname Pete. Oh no, it sounds like it's not going to work out this time around, but she does, she communicates that she is interested in talking to him sometime, though. So I will be traveling through Sweden this summer, so maybe we can meet up then. Okay? Not a hard commitment or anything like that, but clearly she's expressing, a sincere interest in Pete and his work. Now, here's where it gets interesting. In the meantime, are you familiar with Dr. Freiberg, the president of EUSF? EUSF is the sponsoring organization for this conference. I was just thinking that his work in social psychology has some interesting implications for your interest in social networks and society. I worked with him for a time many years ago and could make an email introduction. Just let me know. Best, Cheryl. Okay, so we're going to see how this progresses. Peter's response. Hi, Cheryl. Usually I travel back to Canada during the summer, but as luck would have it, see, he's actually getting a little bit longer in his, kind of introductions for his emails, aren't he? He's giving more of his background. So we know, okay, he's from Canada. He's being more himself at this point. So we're really breaking down those barriers of formality at this point. I will be around this summer, though. Definitely get in touch before your trip. Look at that exclamation point. There's actually a lot of exclamation points in this email. Try not to use too many exclamation points. Pete goes a little overboard in this case. You probably, if you want to use an exclamation point, like one or maybe two in an email would be okay, but this is a little too much. Anyhow, I would love an introduction to Dr. Freiberg. Actually, I leaned heavily on his early work in my dissertation, and I was hoping for a chance to bump into him at EUSF. When you make it to Sweden, dinner is on me. Okay, so yes, he wants the introduction. It would mean a lot to him. That's really what's being communicated here, and he's really appreciative of it. He's going to buy her dinner when they finally do meet in person, because he's so thankful for this introduction that she's offering. Next step. She doesn't reply to Peter yet, okay? She actually now sends an email to Dr. Freiberg. Now notice the to section here. Dr. Freiberg has doctor in his email program, and so that's what Cheryl's email program has put in the contact for Dr. Freiberg. So doctor is actually part of his name in the to section here. To Dr. Helmut Freiberg from Cheryl Buchanan. Subject, Dr. Peter Cho and EUSF. Okay, so Cheryl has an existing relationship with this person, but it's been a long time since they last talked, and their social level seems quite far apart. So I think Cheryl is still kind of in the early stages of her career. She's maybe a few years ahead of Dr. Cho or Peter. So she's still kind of maybe a little bit above Peter, but she's way far lower than Dr. Freiberg. And it's been several years since they were in touch. So, but also Dr. Freiberg is older. Okay, he's getting towards the end of his career, so he may be a bit more rigid in these rules. So for a variety of different reasons, Cheryl feels it's appropriate to address him as doctor rather than calling him Helmut, which if they had a close relationship, if they had a previous relationship, some people would feel comfortable using somebody's first name in that context. But like I said, Dr. Freiberg, he's from an older generation. He might not like that. Anyway, we'll go through the email here. It says, Dr. Freiberg, it has been far too long since we last got in touch. I hope you and your family are doing well, and I greatly look forward to catching up at EUSF next month. Okay, so the language she's using here, she doesn't exactly apologize for not being in touch, but she acknowledges it. Okay, she says, "Yeah, we haven't talked for a long time. That's too bad." Makes acknowledgement to his family. So that means that she, at one time at least, was a little bit close to Dr. Freiberg and his and maybe his family, maybe not, but anyway, enough that they could talk about family with each other. Finally, look at how she brings up the idea of introducing Dr. Cho. I wanted to reach out to you regarding an up-and-coming young scholar named Dr. Peter Cho with Happy University in Sweden. He's doing some very compelling work on social networks that seem to have some connections to your social psychology work. He will be at EUSF for the first couple of days before jetting off to EU PSA. Would you be amenable to an email introduction and maybe meeting him for coffee or drinks for 30 minutes during EUSF? Best, Cheryl, Athena University, France. Okay? So her email to Dr. Freiberg's a bit longer, okay, because she feels compelled to balance kind of formality with friendliness, right? And so you can see how that's reflected in the language that she uses here. Let's see how Dr. Freiberg responds. Hello, Cheryl. It's been ages. Always good to hear from you. That sounds great. Yes to the intro. Okay. Dr. Freiberg's a busy guy. Okay. So he doesn't have time to be sitting writing long email addresses. And you know what? For him, it's totally okay. You know, this email is very short. It's extremely short. It's short. It's blunt, but it's welcoming and it's open and it is actually friendly, right? But you know, some people might receive an email like this and feel very discouraged. They feel, I spent an hour writing that email and he wrote back, 3 or 4 sentences. What a jerk. Right? Don't look at it that way, okay? He's just an incredibly busy person. You actually got the result that you want here, okay? You got a favorable result from Dr. Freiberg. So now, after Cheryl asks Dr. Freiberg, now it's okay for her to actually make the introduction. So here you see to Dr. Helmut Freiberg, Peter Cho. That doesn't mean Peter Cho is not a doctor, okay? And in fact, that's clarified in the subject line, Introduction to Dr. Cho. And she starts, Dr. Freiberg. So he's the person in the senior position, so he needs to be acknowledged first. I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Peter Cho. He's in the sociology department at Happy University in Sweden and will be attending EUSF next month. Okay, so information is repeated here. We're getting some repeated information, and that's okay. Dr. Freiberg already knows this, but this is to make it more natural for making the mutual connection. Now that both Dr. Freiberg and Dr. Cho are on the email list, and she can make it more comfortable this way. As I mentioned, he's doing some very compelling work on social networks that seems to have connections with your social psychology work. That's actually copy and pasted from the previous email, but she uses that term as I mentioned to introduce it. Dr. Cho, I'm sure you will find Dr. Freiberg very helpful. He's a very busy man, but he sincerely loves supporting early career researchers like yourself. I will leave it to you to follow up directly with Freiberg. Okay, so at this point, it's Dr. Cho has the next step, not Dr. Freiberg. Okay, Pete needs to actually send an email to Dr. Freiberg now. Right? So how does he do that? Number one, look at Cheryl's position now in the heading here. It's addressed to Dr. Helmut Freiberg. Cheryl is in the CC. Cheryl is carbon copied. At this point, we start to kind of move Cheryl aside. Right? We're moving her aside a little bit, but she can still kind of watch the relationship unfold. Thank you very much, Dr. Buchanan, and then in parentheses, CC'd, carbon copied, for the kind introduction. Dr. Freiberg, it is truly an honor to meet you. Your work was actually central to my dissertation, and I've studied your career closely. Okay, so you don't want to go over the top here, but you want to really show appreciation and respect for this person. I will be at EUSF for the first 2 days and would love even just 15 minutes of your time at your convenience to chat about your continued work in the field. What's really important here is that 15 minutes. Okay, so Cheryl mentioned before 30 minutes, but it's good for Dr. Cho here to put some limitation on it. From Dr. Freiberg's position, he doesn't want to spend too much time with this person that he's never met before if it's going to be not a fruitful relationship. Right? Maybe Peter is a jerk. Right? Maybe Peter's not a nice person. Maybe he's weird, difficult to get along with. So Peter putting that time limit of 15 minutes on it makes it much more comfortable and easier for Dr. Freiberg to respond to. Okay. So let's look at Dr. Freiberg's response. Peter, sounds great. Call me when you get to the hotel. That's it. Again, Dr. Freiberg's a busy man. But this is, again, a great result. Okay, so Peter, obviously, going back, he put a lot of thought and effort and time into creating this very brief, not very brief, but pretty brief email. And Dr. Freiberg's response is very, very brief. but it's a good response, right? This is a good, positive result. Do not be discouraged by this kind of result when you're emailing people with much higher seniority than yourself. Now, Dr. Cho does have to respond. Dr. Freiberg, I am very much looking forward to it. For reference, my number is, and he gives him the number. Note, Cheryl is still CC'd here, okay? Cheryl is still carbon copied. She's still in the loop on what's going on. But now she's not. Now we have Peter contacting Dr. Helmut directly. Subject, thank you. This is after they actually met. Dr. Freiberg, I wanted to thank you again for making the time to meet with me at EUSF. Okay, this is a very important courtesy. Freiberg made the time to talk to him. He needs to say thank you. And he probably already did say thank you in person. He needs to say thank you again by email. And what about Cheryl? Well, he needs to follow up with Cheryl as well. So he says, Cheryl, I just wanted to let you know that Dr. Freiberg and I had a very fruitful discussion thanks to your introduction. Okay, that's really all he needs to say. And then maybe again, say thank you again. But, he fills her in a little bit. We set aside 30 minutes to chat at the hotel bar, but we talked for 2 hours. We chatted for another 20 minutes over coffee this morning as well. I can't thank you enough for facilitating this conversation. Please do let me know about your travel plans to Sweden this summer so we can meet up. My treat. Okay. Great email, right? Everybody in this email chain followed all protocol. They followed proper etiquette. This is really a successful email introduction. And I also hope you saw some of those guidelines with formality and friendliness being put into action.